technology forms the bigger part of any sector in the country today and generally around the world. In fact, technology is now being looked at as the fifth factor of production. But then again, it takes quite a bit to develop in technology. And Kenya is leading the front, you can say, together with Nigeria and countries like Ghana. And in studio today, we've got Harry Hare, who is the Executive Director for Demo Africa, to talk to us more about the impact of technology and how startups are doing today in the country and around the continent. Well, Harry, thank you so much for joining us. A lot is being said. Agriculture is being monetized, but at the same time, technologically advanced. How much of a role does technology play in a sector like agriculture per se?
I think to date, technology actually touches like all the sectors of the industry. All the sectors, agriculture, when you look at from just the simple plowing to actually selling agricultural produce. So it's all, a lot of these places, a lot of these areas are now automated, and it's the work of technology that is making things move faster, more efficient and more productive.
All right, so tell us about Demo Africa. They've been having quite a number of exhibitions, bringing together startups from around the continent, but not much is actually said about where exactly those products go after they are exhibited, say in cities like Nairobi, Lagos and Abuja.
Okay, so what Demo does is every year we go across the continent, and we identify companies with interesting products and interesting companies as well. And these are normally companies that have built a solution to a problem that has the ability to scale, ability to actually be disruptive, and ability to actually attract investment. So most of the companies that we've launched over the last 4 years that we've been in operation, I would say about 60% are making an impact in different sectors, in different countries, and therefore are actually operating. But 40% of those, some of them have folded, others have pivoted. You know how business is, you start something hoping to go in this direction, but then you realize that this won't work and therefore you change tact.
All right.
So that's in terms of statistics, about 60% of the companies that we've launched actually are doing some interesting stuff.
All right, so in 2014, we also did see Demo Africa have something big here in Nairobi, and last year as well, it was here in Nairobi.
In Lagos.
In Lagos, yeah. Right. And last year's managed to raise about $4 million for startup funding. But what kind of funding are we looking at? Does it go into specific projects to do with health, to do with agriculture? What is the split there?
So different organizations raise different monies, depending on their level of maturity of the product or the company itself.
Yeah.
But in the past, what we've seen is a lot of money has gone into the majority of the money that has been raised through Demo has gone into companies that are doing financial technologies and e-commerce. Very little of the companies that are doing things like agriculture or health or health education. They get money, they raise money, but a lot of it is, it's smaller amounts, and I think it's because of a lot of those sectors are very complicated, especially for private investors. It's easy for donors to see the value of putting money in educational projects and educational applications. But for private sector, private investors, they're looking for areas where they know they'll be able to put in money now and they have an X number of months for return on their investment.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. And speaking of return on investment, do you think that our startups today are looking to solve local problems, or we're still looking at them trying to solve problems that are not exactly ours on the African continent?
I think we've changed. The discussion has sort of changed because I think initially people were looking at building another Facebook or building another Google search, and it's foolhardy to say that you're going to compete with Facebook at their game. Yeah. So I think people have now realized that actually for you to make it as a startup or as a business, you need to actually identify the problem locally, that you can actually come up with an innovative solution to it. So we're seeing a lot of people who are now zeroing into the many problems that we have in Africa and coming up with solutions for those.
All right, so we have been blamed, especially in the technology space, for duplicating ideas that already exist. But how many new ideas do we get, say, when we're having Demo Africa's exhibitions?
You see, coming up with a new idea is not easy.
Yeah.
In fact, what you see a lot of the time, innovation is not necessarily something that, it doesn't have to be like brand new idea. What you see is incremental improvement into the things that already exist. So we're seeing a lot of that. As I said earlier, the payment space, we're seeing a lot of work there. A lot of people are focusing on that. I don't know why, but there's a lot of, like for instance, the 800 plus applications that we got this year. I think 60% were in the payment and financial services space. Then the rest, 40% or so, like divided into like other 15 different sectors. So there's a lot of focus on the financial services and payment space than the rest of the places. And you're seeing, now people are trying, for instance, they're looking at M-Pesa and saying M-Pesa is a good product, but it can be improved.
Right.
So they're trying to build on top of that. So I think there's
So
movement.
would you say that today the biggest gaps that need to be filled are in fintech and nowhere else?
No, I don't think so. I think people are focusing there because probably it's the easiest place where you can actually go to an investor and get money in.
Right, so return on investment.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Demo Africa 2016. That's coming up, I think, between the 25th and 26th of August.
Yes.
It's going to be in Johannesburg. It's never happened there before, I guess in like 5 years. Why
Yes.
now? Why are you going to Joburg?
Yeah, that's a very good question because other people are asking me why not Cape Town. But I think you see when you start a continental initiative like this, you've got 54 countries to cover in Africa, and you don't have the luxury of say you are going to do demo in all the 54 countries at the same time. So I think it's just been something that is coming. But also what we're seeing, what we're looking at also is demand. So Kenya demanded it. We had it. In Nigeria demanded it. We did it in Nigeria for 2 years. We've seen the growth. And then now South Africa demanded it. What is exciting about South Africa is that there's a very mature investment community. And we are hoping that most of the companies that we're going to launch in Johannesburg will be able to get an investment quickly.
All right. So you've done this in 3 cities so far on the
Yes.
African continent.
Yes.
So Nairobi, Lagos, and
now
Joburg, right, in South Africa. Do you think there are differences in
Major.
the differences, right?
Major.
Tell us about them.
So Kenya is there's a lot of innovation happening in Kenya.
Yeah.
It started with what people used to call fluff. But I think now the maturity has come in. We're seeing more solid companies being built. But I think our investment community has not necessarily come onto the table. So there's a lot of foreign investment, foreign investors coming and investing in Kenyan companies, but we're not seeing the local investors coming out to the table and say, hey, we are going to invest in this technology startup. I think a lot of people are still, they're still very comfortable investing in real estate and in big construction companies.
Okay.
In Lagos, in Nigeria, there's the quality of startups is not probably as good, and I could be killed for saying that.
Yeah. As good as
what we see here.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more money available to the startups in Lagos. For instance, in 2014, when we had demo there, a week after demo, one of the speakers in Demo Africa actually invested $650,000 in one of the companies. A week later.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot more investment money that is available to the startups there. But the standard of all this is coming up. So it's not like it's a static area. So you can see now, companies like Andela, though of course Andela has both Nigeria and the US roots, but the quality is also coming up. South Africa is a totally different ballgame. Cape Town and Johannesburg are like two different countries. So in Cape Town, you have a nice customer-facing applications with solid investors behind them. So really, really cool stuff. And what they do is they also don't look at Africa as a market, but they look at Europe and the US as their market.
All right. So earlier you said that there were about over 1,000 applications for this demo 2016. But of them, which ones do you think have stood out the most that you have picked from to finally make it down to Joburg?
We actually pick only 30 out of all that.
Wow.
Yeah.
How unique are they, at least for this time around? How unique are they?
There's some interesting ones that I could possibly mention. But one of them, for instance, from locally here is Strauss Energy. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Yeah, I have.
And I think the potential that Strauss has is enormous. And, anybody from Kenya Power, they need to watch those guys. Because I think those guys are disrupting this whole space. My roof becomes my energy, and also my surplus energy goes into the grid or goes into be sold to somebody else and therefore giving me revenue.
Okay.
That's disruption.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to us here on KTN, the Executive Director for Demo Africa, Harry Hare. Do people always have a problem pronouncing your last name? All right. Thank you so much for talking to us.